0 to 60 can define a performance car, but it's the fastest 60 to 0 that's the aim of Tarok's brakes. From road cars to race cars, circuits, special stages, or the autostrada, nothing reduces speed like Tarok's brakes. Italy gave the world the art of Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Tarok's has given drivers the art of stopping. For more information and to acquire your own masterpiece, visit tarox.co.uk. Yes, it's me, Mark Stone, and this is the Backseat Driver Podcast. It's the fastest, it's the friendliest, and it's for all the family. The Gas Shocks 116 Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup are the fastest growing race series in the UK, taking in 6 one-hour races and 8 sprints at all the top circuits. Visit 116trophy.com to find out more and get yourself behind the wheel. From a pot of tea to TT motorbikes. From a classic English breakfast to a full serving of classic cars. Bridge House Tea Rooms is the Northwest premier classic car meeting location for cars, bikes, tractors and owners clubs. So no matter what your automotive appetite might be, visit Bridge House Farm Tea Rooms on their Facebook page or call John and Alicia on 07980 444 221 for show details and to reserve your own table and parking space. In 1958, motor racing lost one of its greatest stars, an English racing driver called Peter John Collins, just weeks after having won the RAC British Grand Prix. A tussle at the Nordschleife, the famous Nürburgring, claimed Collins' life, as the circuit and as motor racing has done over the years. It has claimed many a life. The thing is, motor racers and racing drivers are just that. Nothing will ever stop them. Peter Collins was born on the 6th of November 1931 and grew up in Mustow Green, Kidderminster, Worcestershire. The son of a motor garage owner and haulage merchant, Peter Collins became interested in motor vehicles at a very young age and anything mechanical. He was even expelled from school at 16 owing to spending most of his time at the local fairground when he should have been at school. After that, he became an apprentice in his father's garage and began competing in local trials. He started with the 500cc category, known then as Formula 3, when his parents bought him a Cooper 500, and then true success started to appear when he switched to a JBS Norton in 1951. These little single-seaters powered by a Norton motorcycle engine. These vehicles were also the proving ground of many of Peter Collins' F1 contemporaries, including the one and only Sir Stirling Moss. His breakthrough came away from the track when, at a party hosted by the great pre-war lady racer Kay Petrie, Collins managed to inveigle himself with John Wyer, the team principal at Aston Martin, earning a test drive at Silverstone. During that test, he also joined the Formula 2 team of HWM, and by the time the day was over, he had contracts with the both. Collins was one of those drivers with a superb touch, and he was also a driver that Enzo Ferrari greatly admired. He was a friend of Mike Hawthorne, the aforementioned Sir Stirling Moss. He had a delicacy behind the wheel that few could actually emulate. Absolutely stunning driver. The problem with Peter Collins is, unlike many, he's hardly remembered. Very few people know of him. You can find more about him, of course, online, by having a look online. He is represented in the book Mon Ami Mate by Chris Nixon, which highlights the brief, stunning lives of both Peter Collins and Mike Hawthorne in an exceptional biography. So, courtesy of Mark Andrews, a man that I first met at Classic Le Mans last year, his dedication and devotion to Peter Collins has resulted in an absolutely fantastic sculpture memorial that is now located at the beautiful Shelsley Walsh Speed Hill Climb down in Worcestershire. When it was unveiled the other day, at the kind invitation of Mark, I attended and was able to interview Mark about it, along with Stephen Charnock, the portrait sculptor who's generated the finished thing, Joe Klausman, the artist who has painted a limited edition print that accompanies the memorial, Nick Harrison of Shelsley Walsh and the Midland Automobile Club, the one, the only Howden Ganley, who was one of the VIP guests, an exceptional single-seater Grand Prix driver and sports car racer who came across Peter Collins, and even very, very briefly, they are from two different eras, but Howden speaks very kindly of him. And finally, Chris Price, who is the Peter Collins historian. Nobody knows more about Peter Collins than Chris Price. So sit back and enjoy my chat with Mark Andrews and the rest of them down at Shelsley Walsh for the unveiling of the Peter Collins Memorial. Here with Mark Andrews at Shelsley Walsh for the unveiling of the Peter Collins Memorial. A task and an end result that Mark has dedicated his many years to, I get the feeling, and I had a chat with Mark originally at Classic Le Mans last year. Mark, welcome back to the Backseat Driver, and congratulations on the fulfilment of your ambition to unveil the Peter Collins Memorial here at Shelsley Walsh.
Thank you, Mark. Good to see you again. It's certainly been the fruition of a year and a half's work, and work that's been very intense in the last couple of months for sure. But we've been blessed today with some beautiful weather. We've managed to get a great team of VIPs, drivers, celebrities to help us unveil the memorial. And I think the people that we've got here, the cars that we've got here, they're a testament to Peter's popularity in this part of the world and to be honest, across the country.
I mean, the thing is about Peter Collins, like today we've heard stories about Stirling Moss, Mike Hawthorne, we've had Howden Ganley here, and David Piper, renowned F1 drivers and sports car drivers. Why do you think Peter Collins is, shall we say, so overlooked?
I think that's very true, and probably one of the driving forces for doing what we did with this memorial. The reason why, I guess, of course, Peter died young, which certainly Stirling didn't, but of course Mike did, so that's not a defining factor. Mike was world champion, Stirling wasn't. So again, they're both remembered. So it's a bit strange that perhaps Peter's dropped under the radar, because he was a very charismatic person. He was certainly a driver of the same calibre as Moss and Stewart and Fangio and all of the drivers that we remember. But sometimes history just does that, doesn't it? And, you can't really pin it down to any one thing. But it's certainly something that we wanted to try and remedy with this memorial. And what has become clear is that whilst, his memory might not be quite as strong across the globe and across all walks of life, there's still an awful lot of people that remember Peter and hold him in extremely high regard.
I mean, he was held in high regard by Enzo Ferrari, and interestingly, just as Stirling Moss did the gentlemanly thing which allowed Hawthorne to take the world title, Peter Collins did the same thing by surrendering his car to Fangio, which allowed Fangio to go on and win another world title. I suppose Collins worked on the theory he'd do it the year after.
Absolutely. Famously in '56, of course, Collins gave up his car at Monza so that Fangio could carry on and get his 4th world title, and in doing so deprived himself of his first. And as you rightly say, Mark, his sort of motives for that were, well, I'm 25 and I'll get plenty more opportunities. I think what's perhaps less widely known is that there are a couple of other occasions where Peter was in a similar position and did similar things that perhaps aren't so widely publicised. That in itself, I think, tells us a little bit about Peter's character. These were days of chivalrous sportsmen, and perhaps less commercialism than we see today. And that's possibly one of the things that we like about them. We like these backstories, we like their characters. And, Peter was certainly a character, but he was also a genuinely top sportsman. His attitude to his competitors was one of friendly competition rather than an enemy which must be beaten at all costs, I
mean, why Shelsley Walsh? I mean, it's a stunning location. Why Shelsley Walsh, and what was their reaction when you said you'd like to unveil a memorial here?
Well, Shelsley Walsh is good for a number of reasons. One of them is that Peter was a local boy. Another one is that he didn't race his first competitive event here, but one of his first. And, he was driving here in 49 and 50, I think. And so there's strong ties. In those days, of course, you cut your teeth in your aspirations to become a top driver by working up through hill climbs and lower formulas. Today, of course, you do it through go-karting. So times were different then, but it's a beautiful circuit. It's beautiful track, I should say. It's Peter's home track. It's where he started his career. And do you know what? It's a beautiful part of the world as well.
It is rather nice, isn't it? And he's still well known in this part of the world, isn't he?
I think that's become very apparent. When we looked at the donations where they came in from, we saw that there were donations from historic sports groups across the globe. But of the sort of domestic donations, the vast majority of them were from here. The people of Kidderminster still hold Peter dear, and there are still a lot of people here with memories of Peter, with memories of Peter's family, because, of course, his father ran the Ford dealership here. So Peter's fame, if you like, wasn't in Kidderminster, wasn't just down to his ability as a driver. He was known as the son of the guy with the Ford dealership, So he has lots of stories of Peter driving around in exotic cars, and I think he was quite popular with the girls. And he was a larger than life character, and he's well remembered in this part of the world.
As from today with the memorial, I mean, are there going to be any, for want of a better term, spin-offs, Peter Collins spin-offs from this?
Not so much. My work here is to some extent done. I don't have any direct ties to Peter Collins, to Shelsley Walsh. I just felt that it was important to preserve Peter's memory, make sure that it was up there, as we've said already, with some of the other drivers. We have unveiled another memorial to Peter at the Nürburgring last August. And throughout this campaign, we've been able to offer miniature sculptures, paintings of Peter, things which have sort of helped the memorial fund, but have also, if you like, widened the sort of range of Peter-related things that are now available for people to see in, local businesses and these sort of places.
And today you read some quotes out from, like, Brian Redmond, who's a racing driver I happen to know personally. We've had Howden Ganley, David Piper. I mean, what were these guys' reactions when you invited them?
They've been wonderful. They really have been wonderful. And, these guys have given up their time. When you ask a racing driver to sign 100 posters, you can be a bit glib about it and think, well, it's not a big job. It takes a number of hours to do that. You have to invite someone like me who they'd never met before into their houses to do it. They have been stunning, and they've done everything that I've asked for them, and just giving up their time to attend here today. David and Howden, they live near London, and they've driven over here, got a long drive back home tonight. And I think that also shows what respect they have for Peter too.
And what else is left for Mark Andrews?
Well, Mark Andrews, his wife, said that he's going to have a rest. But this time of year is our busiest time of year with our business, our European driving tours. And 2 weeks today, we head off to Spain. And then we have 2 tours to my favourite country, which is Italy. We're going to Maranello, and we're going to take our tourists around the Ferrari and Lamborghini and Maserati factories. So although the Peter Collins work is done for now, the motor racing sort of vibe continues through our day jobs. And it'd be nice to just... We've promised ourselves that on tomorrow evening we're going to sit down with a bottle of wine and watch the new Ferrari movie. So that's our first spot of relaxation for a couple of weeks.
Just out of interest, have you had any reaction from Ferrari themselves?
Not directly, no. Ferrari, even for Ferrari owners, Ferrari is quite a tight sort of group. So, for instance, you can't visit the factory unless you own a Ferrari. They're probably the last factory to sort of keep that sort of situation. Through people that we know in Maranello, Brenda Werner being one of those people, there are people in Ferrari that know what we're doing and are very pleased about what we're doing. But I think the company does things that it wants to do and doesn't get too involved in other sort of things that are happening.
But Mark Andrews, thank you very much for joining me once again on the Backseat Driver after the initial invitation, sat in the paddocks at Le Mans. And once again, under a nice, warm, sunny day, it's been a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you, Mark. It's been great speaking to you.
Here at Shelsley Walsh with Stephen Charnock, the sculptor, the man who created the Peter Collins Memorial. Stephen, welcome to the Backseat Driver.
Hello, thanks.
Right. How long ago did the commission take place?
It was about a year in the making, really. About this time last year, Mark came to us, and when I say us, I have my own small foundry and a small team of guys, and we make sculptures for other artists. But I am an artist in my own right, and I make works to commission, generally sort of memorial pieces for people around the country. And as I say, about a year ago, Mark came to me with this proposition that he'd like to raise some money for a statue. And I gave him, the information required, how much it would cost to sculpt and then create in a bronze form. And he went away, and I just thought, well, I'll watch this space, see how long it takes for the money to come in. And surprisingly, Mark's very adept at raising money, and within a few months, he'd raised the initial amount to do the clay sculpt of
the deposit.
The deposit, yeah, indeed. And and he was forthcoming with the money, which is always quite reassuring as an artist when you get the deposit. But and then I began sculpting the clay model and sending photographs through to Mark. And yes, he was very pleased with the results. And it went from there to being moulded and cast in bronze, again, which I undertake myself with a small team of guys at my own foundry.
So the image, I conclude, has been taken off photographs and everything else, or did you look for inspiration as well? Because, Peter was a local lad, and very much an undersung local lad, to say he was so successful.
Yes, Mark kindly furnished me with the initial photographs, and then I did my own research on the internet. Obviously, everybody goes to Google, first port of call these days, and thankfully there was a lot of photographs that could be gleaned from the internet, which were really useful. The backstory of Peter Collins is also very interesting, although I'm not a man that has really followed racing, motor racing in any shape or form. But it's always useful to understand the man you're sculpting. On this occasion, he was a chap that died very young in quite unfortunate circumstances. And, it's been very interesting doing that research into Peter and finding out that, he was one of the contemporaries of Sir Stirling Moss, a friend of Sir Stirling Moss, and I didn't know about him at all, so I think he is an unsung hero, and he does need to be recognised. And obviously there is this great link with Worcester as well, and it was a real privilege to be allowed to do this sculpture. And Peter, as a face to sculpt was a gift, really, because he was such a handsome and quite chiselled guy back in the day, back in his prime. So as a face to sculpt, he had a lot of definition and a lot of things that I could work with, and it was just a case of finding the right photographs. Ideally, finding a profile picture of Peter was the most challenging aspect for me as a sculptor, because I need both a profile, i.e. a side-on picture, and a front face picture, and it gives me the measurements then that I can use to create a sculpture like this and get the likeness.
Now you've finished and it's due to be unveiled, has it inspired your interest in motorsport at all?
Honestly, I don't think I will be following motorsport as such. I'm always excited to see cars, not so much for the statistics and the speed and things like that, but I do appreciate the skill that goes into making and crafting bodywork and the forms of cars, and I think there is a beauty and a sculpture in cars, and it's enticed my own family to come with me today, especially my young son, who has got a great interest in fast cars, as you do when you're younger and you're on the verge of getting your first car. It's been a really interesting foray for me into the world of motorsport. But I've also done other sports, rugby, and I do a lot of historical work too. So I always have to look into the subject matter and the history that I'm working on. So it's great. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed doing the work.
Stephen, thank you much for joining me on the Backseat Driver. It's been a pleasure chatting with the man who has recreated Peter Collins.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm with Joe Klausman, the artist who created the painting of Peter Collins. Joe, welcome to the Backseat Driver.
Nice to meet you. It's an honor to be part of the whole event here in Shelsley Walsh, and to give my contribution to the memorial.
How did it come about? How were you asked to produce the painting or compose the painting?
Yeah, Mark Andrews, he told me about his idea, and I thought about how can I help him, and as I'm a semi-professional artist, I said, would you like me to do a painting? And he said, that's a great idea. And then we came about how we could create some funds out of it, and then we had the idea to have the painting printed. We had 100 prints made, and the next idea was to have these prints signed and give these prints to people who made donations.
What inspired you to create the painting that you created?
Yeah, we had certain things had to be shown on the painting. One was Louise, Peter Collins' wife. The second one, Mark wanted to have the boat they had in the Monaco harbour, and so that was I think they acquired the boat late '57, so it had to be a scene from 1958. And in Monaco, so that was the place to show on the painting.
And regrettably, Peter Collins was killed at the Nordschleife, or the Nürburgring, call it what you will. Did you go there? Have you been to the Nordschleife?
Of course, many times. And the memorial, the first part of the unveiling of this memorial was at the Nürburgring last year in August, and we went there. It was at the weekend of the Old-Timer Grand Prix, and we went to the site of the accident, and Mark made a little speech, and we laid down some flowers.
And, I've driven the Nordschleife on quite a few occasions. It is legendary. Does it still hold its status within Germany itself?
Oh, yeah. It's the last circuit we have, which is untouched. Everything else was made worse. Hockenheim on the Grand Prix circuit of the Nürburgring. You cannot compare it to the Nordschleife. Nordschleife is a treasure.
So although he died there, in many ways, Peter Collins and the Nordschleife are inexorably linked because they have both achieved legendary status.
Yeah, it's always tragic when you link a person to a place because of his death there, but it's inevitable, and we made the best out of it, I can say, to do this memorial, to keep spectators and visitors of the Nordschleife to keep the memory of Peter Collins alive with this. Yeah.
Joe Klausman, thank you very much for joining me on the Backseat Driver. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm here at Shelsley Walsh for the Backseat Driver with Chris Price, who is regarded as the leading authority on Peter Collins. Chris, welcome to the Backseat Driver.
Thank you very much indeed.
What does today mean to you as a, shall we say, the historian and devotee of Peter Collins?
A tremendous lot, actually, because just that he's commemorated and remembered, and so many people have come today, so many people subscribed to help create the bust of him. I think he's an incredibly important figure in motor racing, and it's just marvellous that this response has been as good as it is.
One thing I mentioned to Mark was the fact that in the era of, say, Moss, Hawthorne, Fangio and everybody else, they're all remembered, but apart from where we are, this part of England, he isn't overly remembered. Any particular reason why not?
No, he is remembered mostly in this area, I think, and although having curated a collection at Worcester Museum, people did travel from further afield, but he's our hero, he's our local boy. And in the scheme of things, perhaps, he didn't win as much as the others did, and I think that does have a bearing on it.
I mean, how much interest do, shall we say, the local school children show in him? Are they introduced to him?
Well, I've introduced them to them. We did a local fundraiser, and we had about £600 surplus, which we gave to Arley School. As I said in my speech earlier, it was a school that Peter used to take his cars down to and show the children the Grand Prix cars, and we presented them with a cheque and we did a little talk, and I have to say, nerve-wracking as it is talking to children, far more to adults, they were spellbound, and I had so many lovely comments, and I'm helping them a little further and with little things so they do remember Peter Collins.
Are there any more events coming up to commemorate Peter or to introduce a wider audience to Peter Collins?
I'm doing a talk at Chadsley Village Hall, which is sold out. I was just asked to do it. It's not something that I really regularly do, but I was asked to do it, and it's really to feed that local interest.
So, where else will you go with Peter Collins? What else remains for you, the what you might call the leading authority on the man? What have you still to find out? Very random things if you're looking to the colour of cars and things like that, because historically you want to get it correct. But I think more importantly, we're hopeful that there might be a permanent Peter Collins exhibition in the future. You're talking several years down the line, but it's doable and the interest is there, and I hope that will become a reality. I conclude some of his cars will still exist.
Very much so. He drove the finest racing cars in the world, and one of them was in the paddock, and I've just waved it goodbye. They're there. I mean, one of Peter's cars briefly was the most expensive car in the world a few years ago. For about 6 months, it was the record breaker at 32 million euros.
And what was that one?
It was a Ferrari. I can't remember whether it was a 315S or a 335S. The difference is down to the engine, but it was a car that Peter raced, and it was sold just before COVID, I think.
Chris, thank you very much for joining me here at Shelsley Walsh.
My absolute pleasure, thank you.
I'm here at Shelsley Walsh with Nick Harrison, who is, I shall allow Nick to give us his title.
The President of the Midland Automobile Club Limited.
And we are here today at the unveiling of the Peter Collins Trophy. What does this mean to Shelsley Walsh and the car club?
Well, it means to Shelsley Walsh that we're celebrating something that's part of the history of Shelsley, because as I said earlier on when I introduced what was happening, we're very proud of the people that come here as amateur drivers. It's nearly all amateur sport, and they go on to establish themselves as world leaders in the sport. But if I come back to today, it's a symbiotic thing. The more publicity we can get to raise revenue for our wonderful venue, the better it is. And hosting this event will no doubt create some interest in the hill climb as well.
I mean, what is the history of Shelsley? I mean, it's the oldest motorsport venue that, when it opened in 1905, if somebody from 1905 came back here now, they'd recognise the course because it's never changed. But how did it come into being?
The club was established in 1901, and it was essentially a club made up, or the management of it was made up of those people that headed up automotive manufacturers. So when you look at the people that were on the first board, you've got Austin, Armstrong and Siddeley and all of those names. And someone found this venue. So 1901 to 1905, they used various closed public roads, Sunrising Hill being one of them in Warwickshire. But somebody found this venue. And in those days, they were pleased to have a hill climb that was as challenging in terms of how steep this is, because the performance of the car was judged by how steep a hill it was able to climb.
And back in those days, lots of the hill climbs, the cars had to have their occupants, didn't they? If it was a four-seater, there had to be 4 people sat in it.
Indeed, you're right. It was a weight-based class system. And there's still a weighbridge in the village, which is about 5 miles away, which was the scrutineering. So you had to take your car down there with your manifest, your passengers and your luggage, get it weighed, and then you were given a bogey time on that basis of that weight. Most of them didn't get to the top of the hill.
How long is the course?
900 yards.
And what sort of times are capable? I mean, back in 1905, they wouldn't have been anywhere near the current records.
77 seconds, 1905. And it's about a third of that today. It's 22 and a half seconds.
22 very interesting and exciting seconds.
They keep you sharp, for sure. Yeah.
You were saying you've had some of the top names start their careers here. Who's gone on to great things from Shelsley Walsh?
Sterling Moss is a very good example, and in modern times, Andy Preo. I don't know if that name is anything to you, but
touring car driver.
Indeed, well, world touring cars. He was champion, I think, 4 or 5 times for BMW. He started here.
And I mean, what lies ahead for Shelsley Walsh?
Well, the terms of our lease don't allow us to use the hill for more than 30 days. But you'll see, I mean, this courtyard we're stood in 20 years ago was absolutely derelict. And it's been brought back to life. And it's really now, it's not just a motor club where people come and have fun. It's a proper commercial business. And we have to continue to grow it to be able to do even more of what we've done. We've got some more derelict buildings over there. We want to put those back into use, and it's just an ongoing project, really.
So anybody who wants to find out more, you can Google Shelsley Walsh, but there's also the Automobile Club.
Yeah, the Midland Automobile Club is the business, if you like, and Shelsley is our principal venue. We do a lot of other events for our members, like classic runs. They go down to Portugal and Italy and Switzerland and Germany on classic runs. We do lots of sprints, sporting trials, all different things.
But you just happen to have Shelsley Walsh as your HQ and, shall we say, the jewel in the crown.
Spot on. Yeah.
Nick Harrison, thank you very much for joining me on the Backseat Driver. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'm joined here at Shelsley Walsh by one of motor racing's genuine legends. Unlike a lot of the modern drivers, this guy really is the business. F1, sports cars, the one, the only, all the way from New Zealand, Howden Ganley. Handa, welcome to the Backseat Driver.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here. Great venue, isn't it?
It is rather nice, is this place, isn't it?
Well, it is the oldest venue, continuously venue in the world, I understand, and this is only my second visit here, but what an event to be at. It's brilliant.
What did Peter Collins, or does Peter Collins, mean to you?
Well, when I first became interested in motor racing, I was 14 years old, I instantly bought every book, or had my family buy for me, every motor racing book that was available, and one of the highest profile was Stirling Moss, but then I discovered that Peter Collins was a contemporary, the three of them really, with Mike Hawthorne, and I thought Collins had a certain style to him, which a little perhaps more laid back than the others, but very talented. So I followed him, when he was driving for BRM, and then when he drove for Tony Vandervelde in the thin wall. He meant quite a bit, and then obviously followed him when he went to Ferrari and BRM and all of that.
I mean, in your time you'll have raced at the Nordschleife or Nürburgring, call it what you want. I mean, I've driven round it on quite a few occasions, but what was it like to drive in anger?
Absolutely wonderful. It is my favourite track in the world. Just the most marvellous place. Yeah.
I mean, they called it the Green Hell, but, I mean, it is beautiful. I mean, you drive... if you're not careful, you get distracted by the rather stunning landscape it sits in.
Well, yeah, you were sort of hemmed in by trees and hedges and things, and you were never entirely sure whether the corner went right or left when you went over the brow of the hill, but no, it just had everything going for it. Every type of corner, straight, uphill, down a dale, absolutely marvellous.
And we have to talk very quickly about your time with McLaren, because in many ways you started out with Bruce McLaren, didn't you?
Very fortunate. Are you good or are you lucky? I was lucky. Bruce McLaren, when he decided to really expand his team and go out on his own, he called me one day and asked me to come and work for him. And I learned so much there and earned a bit of money, which enabled me to go racing later. So it was a great time for me.
And you were saying there was one little bit of advice you were given that's stuck with you for a long while and you pass on to others.
Yes, Peter Collins' advice, and it stuck in my mind for years. And I remember discussing it with John Wyer when I was driving for him, that Peter had said, whatever gear you think you should be in one higher and you will be right. And that actually worked for me, and that's why I always tell young guys, that's what you should do.
I will say in many ways, I think Jim Clark said the same thing, and Derek Bellis said the same thing, whatever gear you are in, be in one higher, because the car will flow more.
It will, yes. If you go too low in the gear, it slows the car down and jerks it around. So if you turn into the corner, matching the speed of the gear that you're in, you'll be that much faster and smoother.
One question I have to ask you, of all the cars you've driven and all the circuits you've raced, which were your favourites?
Well, in circuits, as I said, Nürburgring was my favourite, Old Spa was my second favourite, and Monaco is my third favourite. If you want to go to a fourth, it's Barcelona-Montjuïc. In cars, probably the favourite was the Matra, followed closely by the BRM Can-Am car and the 160 BRM.
Howden Ganley, thank you very much for sparing the time and chatting with me here down at Shelsley Walsh.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So there you are. I hope you enjoyed my chat with one or two folks down at Shelsley Walsh for the unveiling of the Peter Collins Memorial. If you need to find out more or would like to find out more, as I said, there's the Chris Nixon book, Mon Ami Mates, and as always these days, there's plenty to be found out on the internet. Just hit your favourite search engine. Shelsley Walsh. If you've never been to Shelsley Walsh, do go. It is a stunning location. It's very, very historic. It started life in 1901. The first competition was in 1905. And as Nick Harrison said, the venue has never changed. It's being fully restored. All the beautiful old buildings, they are well into restoring a lot of them. A lot of them are finished. Others are partway through restoration. There's still 1 or 2 more left to be done. Fantastic place. Good bars, good food, great location, stunning part of the world. When you are there, you are in many ways transported back in time. And as we said, if a driver from 1905 set off from the start line, he wouldn't have to learn it. It is exactly as it was all those years ago, and it is the only venue, motorsport venue in existence, that is still exactly as it was well over 100 years ago. So, find out more about Peter Collins. Find out more about Shelsley Walsh Speed Hill Climb, and if you get the chance, get yourself down there, have a look at the place, just check it's open first, enjoy your meal, enjoy the spectacle, and when you're in the courtyard, enjoy the memorial to the one, the only, the late great Peter Collins, a British racing driver who is seriously ignored in many ways. It's a shame, but he was a fantastic driver. Find out more about him. Rarely beaten on price, never beaten on service. Whether it's cars, bikes or commercials, Hodder Tyres are the best in the business. And when it comes to tyre expertise and advice to supplying the correct tyres for your vehicle's specific requirements, nobody comes close to David Lakin and the Hodder Tyres team. So give them a call on 01200 613 192 or visit the website at hoddertyres.co.uk.